Ghost Hunting in New England,
your favorite spooky podcast. Hello and happy Wednesday. Welcome to this week's episode of Ghost Hunting in New England with your host, Amelia.
and Beth.
And today we are talking about something very cool and interesting.
With a very cool and interesting guest.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are talking about our super spooky, super sunny summertime, daytime getaway to Star Island with the one and only infamous medium, Jamie Day. Jamie, welcome.
Hi. Infamous. I like that. I'm going to start calling myself that.
The infamous Jamie Day.
Yes. I'm
Yeah,
gonna change my
medium
Instagram.
Jamie Day. It's just infamous Jamie Day.
I'm going to
Infamous
change.
Jamie Day. Psychic
like
to
it.
the stars.
I
World
I've got to
renowned.
know now what you're infamous for then.
don't know. All kinds of things.
So yeah, we had such a cool, so this is another episode back in the past. I feel like for all of our back in the past episodes, we haven't really fully stated that we're back in the past, but we're recording this one in July. We don't know when it's going to come out, but we went on this just wonderful, absolutely beautiful day trip to Star Island, which is off the coast of New Hampshire and Maine. It's part of the Isles of Shoals. And I thought it was just a lovely day trip.
It
I thought
was.
it was lovely
fabulous.
too.
I
I really enjoyed it. The boat was lovely. Being out in the sunshine was lovely. And it was so beautiful. It really was.
gorgeous. I got a little color, which I was pretty psyched about. We didn't see any whales. I really wanted to see a whale while we were on the boat. We didn't see any, but
I really wanted to see a shark.
or a shark. And there was a shark spotted right near you. Jamie, you live in Maine now. And was that by you,
I
that
do.
shark that they had eaten the whale carcass the other day?
I don't know. I didn't see that. But possibly.
I'll send you the article.
Probably. Okay.
And Beth got to be on a boat.
And Beth is always happy when she's on a boat. Amelia and Jamie did not see a whale. They did not see a shark, but they both got splashed by pretty big waves. And Beth had a good laugh.
Yeah, it's true.
We did. We got
We
soaked
did.
and had to come back inside.
But it was fun. It was good fun.
Ocean water is very cleansing. It was good for us.
Then we got on to Star Island, which let me tell you, if I was to hunt anywhere, I mean, if you were to hunt anywhere, if anyone was to hunt anywhere, could you think of a more picturesque place to wander around for eternity?
Absolutely not. If I were to be a ghost, that's where to do it.
In July, absolutely. Would I want to be there in February? Not even a little.
Oh, but in July, it's just beautiful. I mean, stunning. It was so nice. I wasn't expecting it to be so pretty.
It
Yeah.
was lovely. It was very New England, very small island. There were lots of rocks. Everything was very low to the ground because of the wind blowing over it all the time. So you don't get like tall trees or anything. But
There was not one tree. Not one tree. Just lots of bushes, really. Like big bushes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So no shade, but it was lovely. We were there on a nice day. It wasn't too windy either.
I do have to say this, though. If you're into the creepy stuff, does it or does it not have major, like, the Overlook Hotel vibes from The Shining?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Yep.
Yes.
That was all I could think of as we pulled up. I was like, well, of course this place is haunted. It might even be possessed by demons or something. Let's see what happens. It reminded me so much of the Overlook. And I just couldn't help but think about what it would be like to be the caretaker and be stuck there all winter.
Yeah, no, thank you. That would definitely not be for me. Would you guys like to hear a little history of Star Island?
Absolutely.
Please.
Star Island is one of the Isles of Shoals, which sits about 7 miles from Rye, New Hampshire, and basically is right on the border between New Hampshire and Maine. It was named by sailors who imagined the shape of the island as points of a star. The island was annexed to the town of Rye, New Hampshire in 1876. Can I ask a stupid question?
Sure.
Annexed means it was like became part of New Hampshire, or it means it took away from New Hampshire?
I don't know the answer to that.
It was annexed by New Hampshire. It means it became part of New Hampshire. If it was
True.
annexed by Maine, then it would have been taken away from New Hampshire and given to Maine.
It was annexed to
It was annexed to New Hampshire.
Rye, New Hampshire.
Then it becomes part of New Hampshire.
Thank you. Captain John Smith mapped the Isles of Shoals in 1614 and named them Smith Isles. But for some reason, Captain John Smith spells his name Smith, but in 1614, he named them Smith Smyth. There's a monument remaining today on Star Island built in 1864 to commemorate the 250th anniversary of John Smith's trip. The islands were settled in the early 17th century by seasonal fishermen. The first permanent settlement of Star Island began in 1677, and the town of Gosport was established on the island in 1715. The town and the island flourished until the American Revolutionary War, when the Americans ordered the Shoals evacuated, believing that it posed a threat to have a group of questionable loyalty just off the coast, and many Shoalers abandoned their island homes. After the war, some moved back to Gosport, but it never regained its former population. I didn't put it at this point, but I do happen to know part of why that was, and it's because when the Shoals were evacuated, it's because most of the people living there were from England and only came seasonally to the island. So that's why they would have been considered loyalists. It wasn't like they were pilgrims.
That makes sense.
That's going to be we talk about like going to the Cape,
No
for
kidding.
the summer, or, even the people that go to New Hampshire for the summer. But I try to imagine like coming across the Atlantic Ocean from Europe somewhere to spend a couple of weeks on this little tiny island with the giant hotel. That seems like a lot of work for a very small reward.
So this was prior to Giant Hotel, because this was during the Revolutionary War. So this
that's
was
even
just
worse.
That's exactly, yes. And we're going to get to that a little later. But it was just a small, tiny, this island is small. It is little. And like you can stand on one side and basically see the other side. We walked around the entire island, and it took us, an hour?
If that.
And a lot of it was like us jumping on, or me jumping on rocks.
Yeah. There were only a handful of buildings. It was mostly rocks and scenery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the islands were sparsely inhabited until the middle of the 19th century, when Thomas Layton established a hotel on Smutty Nose Island. He eventually opened the Appledore Hotel on Hogg with Levi Thaxter, which he renamed Appledore Island. Layton's daughter, Cecilia, married Thaxter, and she became a popular poet. She hosts arts communities on the island frequented by Nathaniel Hawthorne, John Greenleaf Whittier, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Oliver Wendell Holmes, and Sarah Orne Jewett, and Impressionist painter Childe Hassam. Sarah Orne Jewett wrote On Star Island about her visit to Star Island and the Gasport Church, which was later published in Harper's Magazine in September 1881. Star Island has been owned and operated by the Star Island Corporation since 1915 as a place for family, youth, and individual conferences and retreats. The Star Island Corporation has close ties to the Unitarian Universalist Association and the United Church of Christ. In 2008, personal retreats were created to allow members of the public to stay on the island for up to 1 week. As of 2015, it contained the largest off-grid solar farm in New England. This solar grid provides all of the power necessary for the island during the off-season and 60% during full conference season. The island produces its own water and electricity through solar and diesel generators. It has its own septic treatment plant, one of the few capable of handling salt water, and a reverse osmosis water purification system for converting seawater into drinking water. There are 3 separate water systems on the island for drinking water, cistern water for washing, and seawater for sanitary use, which I thought was very interesting. Because I remember being out there and being like, where do they get all the water for this place? Like, they couldn't just like pipe it through the ocean.
Yeah, that is interesting. And we did see all of those solar panels. So.
Yes. And
you can't miss that.
You definitely not.
I just kind of assumed that they caught it in buckets.
Just filter it. Yeah.
And that's what Mom does at the farm.
She doesn't have running water?
She has running water, but she catches water in the buckets and adds it to the water supply.
Yeah, cool. They do that in Hawaii because not everywhere in Hawaii has running water. Okay, so at the highest point on Star Island, and we went to this highest point, and it was very, very cool. The highest point of Star Island is a simple stone meeting house built in 1800. It's the third such structure to stand on this site. The first was built in right around 1685. The second in 1720 from timbers from a Spanish ship. Each meeting house has served islanders according to their needs, as a chapel, schoolhouse, town hall, courthouse, and a storehouse. It was 135 years after the first church was built before there was a lighthouse in the region. In the days when Gosport was a thriving fishing village, it was custom for people to go up to the little church at night, not only to pray for fishermen whose boats had not returned, but to hang their lanterns on wooden crosses so the light might shine out to sea and guide the men to port. Today, candlelight services are a cherished Star Island tradition. At the close of each day, shoalers gather at the foot of the hill and form a procession, carrying candle lanterns, as the villagers of long ago had carried their whale-oiled lamps up the same winding path to the meeting house. Inside the chapel, the candle lanterns are hung on huge brackets from the wall, providing the only source of light. Isn't that really nice?
That is nice.
And they still do it all the time there. And I'm kind of disappointed.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
There were no candles when we were there. Sunny.
There were not. It was
Well,
very
it was
bright outside when
daytime.
we were there.
Yeah. But it was a cool little building.
Beautiful. It was really nice.
That was the one we went into, Amelia, and there was a plaque on the back wall that talked about the building having been burned down.
Yes.
That's right.
And I remember you being
Mhm.
very curious about why was the building burned down? Why would people come out and just burn down a little church on an island?
Yes.
It said on the plaque that they did it on purpose.
Yes. It was a purposeful burning, which I have not
Interesting.
found anything about.
Okay.
But I have a picture of that plaque. I can tell you what it said. Originally constructed of timbers from the wreck of a Spanish ship in 1685, was rebuilt in 1720 and burned by islanders in 1790. This building of stone was erected in 1800. So if any of our listeners know anything more about that mystery, please reach out to the show, ghosthuntinginnew@gmail.com.
Well, I'm curious because I was reading about a shipwreck on a Spanish ship where they came out in the morning and just found all the dead bodies, 14 dead bodies of sailors strewn about on the ground after their ship had wrecked off Smutty Nose.
Was it in 1720?
Let me look it up. Let me see if I can find it again.
That seems unusual that all their bodies would be strewn about the beach.
I agree. It said in the article, it said that they were like crawling towards a building. Like their bodies looked like they were crawling towards the building and some of them were like draped on the rocks.
But that seems odd that they would have all died right there on the, like within that big area there all together.
I
You
do
would think
agree.
some people would have been still on the boat. Some people would have actually made it to where they were getting to. It just seems odd that 14 people would have died like crawling up the beach. I mean, if like somebody was shooting at them, I could understand. But to just like naturally die, that seems odd. Seems a little paranormal and spooky, if you will.
Well, I was thinking maybe that's why they burnt the church down. If it was made from that wood, they were like, wait a minute, this is ghost wood. Let's start over.
That's okay. We can just leave it one of those unanswered questions.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So yeah, again, if anyone knows, let us know. Our next little interesting thing. So when you get off the boat and you walk up, there's this really beautiful little cemetery. And there's a lot of grave sites throughout the island, which I was not expecting because there's not that many houses and people don't really live there year round. So I wasn't expecting there to be so many grave sites. But Caswell Cemetery is located on Star Island. It's the one you kind of see. The Caswell family first joined the fishing community on Star Island in 1711. Most fishermen would commute to the island from Europe each summer before heading back, but the Caswell stayed year-round, braving harsh winters on the small island. During the Revolution, Patriot forces cleared all the fishermen.
Fishmen, mermaids, they were all taken off.
Right. Cleared all the fishermen and their families off the Isle of Shoals, but the Caswells came back and grew wealthy by island standards. By 1866, a hand-drawn map of Star shows at least a third of the homes belonging to different Caswell family members, and they were considered to be like royalty on the fisherman's island. According to Seacoast, New Hampshire, back then, as the joke goes, there were only 2 types of shoalers: the heavy smoking, hard drinking, fish smelling, tobacco spitting, foul mouthed heathen types and their husbands. Ha ha ha. Get it? Get it?
That's a terrible joke.
Women, Cecilia Thaxter tells us, did most of the labor and grew old before their time. When the men were not fishing, they were drinking or lounging upon the rocks. A bill from one of Star Island's fishermen shows he could polish off 4 gallons of rum in a single month.
Wow.
Cool.
So were you just talking about the cemetery on Star Island?
Yes.
You know what I was just thinking
Caswell
about was,
Cemetery.
do you remember those 3 little graves we found of the 3 little kids?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was sad.
That was sad.
So it was really sad, and it was this hidden little grave out in the middle of nowhere. And so we had climbed up over hill and under dale, and I went down and I was nosing around. We were actually looking for a chair that I think Jamie's going to talk about more later, and I found this little tiny grove. And as I looked around, I was like, what are these little rocks? And then I started like looking at what was written on the rocks. It was engraved in that they were 3 little children's headstones, all there together in this little alcove on the island. I mean, it was a beautiful little spot. If I had to be laid to rest somewhere, it would be perfect. It was very undisturbed, and it took a lot of effort to get there, but it was very nice.
It was beautiful and tragic. And I looked it up. And do you want to know how those 3 little girls died?
Yes.
I don't know.
Scarlet fever.
Oh.
Their father was the Reverend.
You know what's crazy? That people used to die of scarlet fever.
Mm-hmm.
My brother had it like 3 times when we were kids.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could have it anymore.
Yeah. Wilton always got like all these like really weird old-timey diseases.
Jeez.
It's really weird. All right. So yeah, there's a lot of haunted stuff on the island. In 2009, which I can't even believe the show was on in 2009, but it was, ghost hunters came and they hung out on the island with then curator Sarah O'Connor. They caught some kind of cool stuff in the Oceanic Hotel, which is like the big, huge hotel when you first get there. It's kind of like the main staple of the island. We were not permitted to go in due to COVID restrictions, but we kind of hung out on the porch for a while, and Jamie and I were like peeking in through stuff.
Yeah, looking at all the windows.
Looking in, seeing what was going on in there that we couldn't go hang out in. So they got some footsteps in the island. There's Vaughn Cottage, which is also on the island, which we're going to talk about a little later. And over there on the show, which, I mean, you know how these things are, but they claimed that a vault of like haunted objects on the island, that only one person had the key, and that person wasn't there, and the vault opened itself up. Ooh, spooky. There's also inside the Oceanic Hotel, there's a woman in white who's seen very often. No one really seems to know who she is or why she's there. And this is a weird one, and I couldn't find any information on this, but it scares the bejesus out of me. So in one of the staircases, there's a ghost named Oscar, and people see Oscar standing behind them when they look in a mirror on the staircase. No, thank you.
What's he look like?
I don't know. I couldn't find anything on it. This is all I found. His name is Oscar, and he's there, and it freaks me out because I have been reading a lot about cursed mirrors lately, and I like can't look in mirrors anymore because I get like so freaked out. Any kind of like reflective surface, I'm like, oh, is it a portal? Oh no, I don't want to go in the portal. So that's spooky.
It's not a portal.
I see mirrors all the time. Plus, I'm a Leo, very vain. I usually love looking at a good mirror. Okay, so next we have this one's kind of cute. I kind of liked this one. I shouldn't like it. I did like it. I guess it's sad. I don't know. So about 50 years ago, there was a husband and wife. The husband was a doctor, and him and his wife are old, and they're on this beautiful island, and so they made a suicide pact. And it was that they were going to take a bunch of medication and pass away in their sleep peacefully next to each other holding hands, which is nice. I mean, I know, I mean, whatever. I guess it's not. I mean, I guess it depends on your idea of suicide, which I do not ever recommend. And if you need help with that, call someone. But, you know, when you're old and you're sick and whatever, they did it. They had a suicide pact and they went for it. And they took a bunch of pills, and the husband died and the wife didn't. And now the husband haunts the
She didn't really take the pills, did she?
I don't know. But he haunts the island, and he can be seen. He's a little old man. He has white hair and a white beard, roaming around. And some say he's looking for his wife, who was supposed to join him on the other side there.
But meanwhile, she's still here in the land of the living, living it up, partying.
His 50
Not
years ago.
anymore.
I don't think she's around still.
Do you want to know my mediumistic take on that?
Yes.
So when we were there, when we were up on the porch, so the Oceanic Hotel, if you haven't been, the Oceanic Hotel has this big, beautiful wraparound porch, like the entire front of it, side of it, it's all a big porch. And they have it now covered in these rocking chairs. And I don't know if it has to do with like the symbolism I get when I give readings, but oftentimes when I do a reading for somebody, connecting them with their past loved one, the loved one on the other side will show me some sort of version of a couple of empty chairs. You know, like, come and sit with me, come and chat with me, like, here, let's have this conversation. And so I felt very drawn to those rocking chairs that were all over the porch. And I could just see this elderly couple sitting there holding hands and rocking. So if I had to give you my mediumistic take on the ghost of the man that haunts the hotel, I would tell you that they are both together. They have certainly found each other. And I think they probably occasionally come back to enjoy their time at Star Island the way that they did when they were alive. It's a special place to them. So I would believe that people have seen their ghosts, but I'd be willing to bet that it was both ghosts and not just the one. I don't think he's missing her or looking for her. I think they figured it out.
That's very sweet.
Yes, that is very sweet. Jamie, do you want to talk about some of the other spooky things going on there?
So there are so many spooky legends. I don't even know where I should begin. How about I tell you the legend of Miss Nancy Underhill's chair?
Ooh.
Okay, so there was a teacher that lived on Star Island. Now, I don't know if she just lived there during the off season or like if she taught the school kids. I don't really know much about the history of her because this was in the 1840s, right? So this was a long time ago. And I think that one of the problems with Star Island and the Isles of Shoals and the ghost stories that are attached there are that they're so old that it's really hard to get the facts straight about what happened exactly. She apparently spent most of her time on the island, and every day at a certain point, she would go and sit in this chair, or I actually think it's a rock formation that looks like a chair. Doing a little bit more research, I don't think it's actually a chair. It's like a rock formation that's shaped like a chair, and she would go and sit out there every single day. At one point, this young, handsome man came to the island and really took it upon himself to woo Miss Nancy Underhill. And a lot of the people in the community were suspicious both of him because he was a newcomer and of their relationship because he was so much younger. And I believe that I read that she kind of came from money. She had a bit of cash saved up and she worked more because she liked it than not necessarily because she needed it. One day, fresh into this new romance, she went to sit out on her chair and this young man came and joined her, and he came running back alone, claiming that a rogue wave completely swept her away and she was gone. She was never seen. Her body was never seen, from my understanding of it. And they have sort of named the rock formation that apparently is still out there. We couldn't find it.
We could not find it. And God knows we looked.
We sure did. But apparently the rock formation is still out there and they call it Miss Underhill's chair in her honor. But there was a lot of speculation about whether or not she had a little help falling off that rock there, that maybe he did it in order to take her money, because rumor has it that he got some of her cash after that.
How much money would you need to give someone? Like, how much money would be worth killing someone? And I say none, right? But like when I watch those shows, it's like they made $8,000 and that's why they killed her. And you're like, what? Like, take out a car loan and get more than that. Like, What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, this is nothing.
And we're talking about the 1840s too. So like, even if she had an inheritance, was it really that?
She's living on an island.
Yeah.
Working as a teacher.
Like,
right. I'm with you. Yeah.
Well, it makes more sense to hear that it's a rock formation and not an actual chair, because having walked out there over the land and the rocks that we had to walk over, it didn't make a lot of sense that somebody was going to be carrying a chair out there.
I know. And, I thought I had read that somewhere that every day she carried the chair out there, which I thought seemed ridiculous. But now I'm reading more things and it says that it was a rock formation, or if nothing else, that it's a rock formation now that they've named on her benefit.
Okay.
But we didn't see a chair, rock, or wood, or anything else out on those rocks.
No, but in all fairness, I was really keeping my eyes very closely open for poison ivy.
Yeah, we were warned.
Yep.
That was a smart thing to do. We were warned. Did you get any?
I did not. Did you?
No, I did not.
Perfect.
There's another creepy legend that has to do with also the same Star Island and all those rock formations. Supposedly somewhere there is a little bit of a cave, which also, by the way, we did not find. But I will be honest and say that we didn't go like down in the rocks. We were more on top of the rocks, which I think is the way to go.
Yes.
But down in the rocks, supposedly there's a little kind of nook that they have named Betty Moody's Cave. And they named it that because there is a legend that says this woman, Betty Moody, went, and now this was in the 1700s. So 1724, I think is when they're saying this was. So there's even less information about what really actually happened this day, because there are a few different versions of the legend. But the main one that I've heard is that there was a Native American Indian, quote unquote, raid of the island in 1724. And she took her children. I've heard it listed as her children and her grandchildren, so I'm not really sure which it was. But she took her children into this cave to hide and supposedly protect them. But the two different versions I've heard have been, number one, that she attempted to silence the youngest by covering its mouth, and in doing so, smothered the youngest by accident. And so the murder in the cave is her accidentally killing the child in an effort to save the rest of them from, the natives hearing or seeing them. But the darker version of it that I've heard is that she actually did it intentionally to save herself. And I hear it wasn't even a smother. I hear it was a bashing.
Oh,
Rocks, heavy rocks.
Oh, that's horrible.
Really horrible. And I can tell you right now that there is absolutely nothing on this earth that would get me to do that to my children.
Mm-mm.
So if that's true, she had to be real desperate.
Real cuckoo.
Or disturbed.
Yeah. Yeah. Disturbed is definitely the way to look at it, because I think I would rather be taken with my children and all injured, but I don't know who's to say. I don't know. It's crazy to me. It's really dark. As a mother, it's really dark. That's awful.
Well, as not a mother, it's also really dark.
Good to know.
It's really scary. That's
Good to know.
scarier than the idea of ghosts, that what people are capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, totally. And I talk to dead people all day long. It's what I do for a living. And I can tell you right now that it's not the dead people that scare me in any way, shape, or form. It's the living.
Yeah.
People are crazy.
Agreed.
Speaking of crazy axe murdering people,
Yeah.
you have another story for us, Jamie?
Oh, yeah, there's a good one. So we actually didn't get over to Smutty Nose Island. That is not where the tour took us. We did cruise by it on the boat, but I really wanted to get over there because this one I think is the absolute creepiest.
So wait, before you talk about it, as we're walking out on the rocks, Jamie keeps saying oh, that's Smutty Nose Island. Also, where might I have heard the term Smutty Nose before?
It's a beer.
The beer.
It is. It's a craft beer. So we're looking out and there's this big, huge sign before you look at, there's like a jetty that runs from Star Island over to this other little part of Star Island. Right. And there's this big, huge sign, and it's not like a do not enter or anything like that. It just says no. It was actually really funny to look at.
I do agree with you. I thought that was really funny. Just huge letters, no, nothing else. That's the kind of signs you need, right? It got the point across. You could see it from practically the whole island. I didn't see anybody trying to cross that jetty. Did you?
It was it was very clear this was not something that you were being encouraged to do.
Well, maybe the reason they did not want us to go over there is because it's haunted.
Ooh.
So Smutty Nose Island is actually the site of a Grizzly Axe Murder. Now, this took place according to my research, it was 1873. And now there have been a lot of books and things like that written about this. I know that a really popular one was written, and I want to say it was 1929, maybe. a book, but then the information that I'm getting is based on Horror on Smutty Nose from Yankee Magazine in like the 80s. It came out in the 80s from Yankee Magazine. But this is a pretty popular story that is well known among the locals. So back in the 1870s, there was this man, Louis Wagner, and he was kind of down on his luck, and he was a fisherman and was sort of trying to scratch out his living, on these islands that go between Maine and New Hampshire. And there was a couple out there, John and Marin, who I'm not 100% sure how to say, Huntvet, I think is their last name. So John and Marin lived out there, and John was kind of a nice guy, and he was really kind, and he took Wagner in. And he allowed him to come work for him, and he helped him to be a fisherman, and to do some work for him as a fisherman. And so at some point, John and Marin, they were the only ones on the island, and their house guest. And so they invited some other people in their family. I believe they were from England or from, across the pond somewhere, over to come and stay with them. One of those people was Marin's sister, and there were some other relatives that came and stayed with them as well. John ended up sort of with like more help than he knew what to do with, because all these people were there visiting, earning their keep, getting some work done, helping John with his fishing and keeping Marin company. Louis ended up leaving for some time and going to find different work, but things got worse for him because the boat that he was working on crashed, and he ended up needing some more money, but he wasn't living on the island again at this time. He was sort of going back and forth and, doing some odd jobs here and there, making some different trips. The legend has it that somehow John and the other men who were out doing their fishing got kind of hung up, got kind of stuck doing whatever they were doing. And so the women were there alone. And somehow Louis, because he was kind of going back and forth, helping them out, got word of this. And he went over to the island with the intention to rob and pillage his benefactor and his house, that man that had been so kind to him and had taken him in. And he went back to the house, and legend has it, according to Marin, because Marin was the sole survivor of this incident, according to Marin, he came in with an axe and brutally slaughtered Marin's sister, Karen, who was there with her, completely chopped her up with an axe. Marin ran up to the bedroom and was able to escape, and she was able to kind of get over to one of the other islands and flag somebody down. She was battered and beaten, and she was in pretty rough shape. And somebody came over and found her and helped her. And they said, "Where's your sister?" And she said, "She's in the house." And her sister Karen was not alive in any way, shape, or form. What John did John was the husband. What Louis, the axe murderer, did from there was he took off with what very little money that he was able to get. Because like you said, he didn't end up getting that much. He thought that they had this big cash saved, and it wasn't. It was like a few $100. He murdered this woman and tried to murder another woman for nothing, for such a small amount of money. He chopped her up with an axe for this small amount of money. So it's awful, right? Listen, if you're going to chop somebody up with an axe, why don't you at least check and make sure how much money we're going to get out of it first? Why don't you do a little research, right?
That seems like fair due diligence. Yeah.
I agree. But supposedly he thought that they had money. I don't know. So he actually took that little bit of money that he had, sailed off down to Boston. He took off running. He bought a suit, put the suit on over his murder clothes, and then was arrested wearing the suit over the murder clothes. And he is actually the very final case of capital punishment. He was given the death penalty, and he is the last Maine death penalty in history.
Interesting. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Now, there is some rumor and speculation, I guess you could say conspiracy theories surrounding this. I think most historians don't really believe this stuff to be true, but legend has it that Marin, on her deathbed, confessed to murdering her sister herself and said that it had nothing to do with Louis and that she did it herself. However, since this has been pretty much debunked, because supposedly when this article came out that said that she confessed this on her deathbed, she was very much alive and lived for another 11 years after that. And this also happened to be the same year as the famous Lizzie Borden axe murders. Rumor has it that was just sort of a reporter's twist on it to try to sell the story.
I don't know why you would think that we would believe conspiracy theories. I mean, we're a ghost hunting podcast.
Yeah. Listen, anything's possible, but supposedly she was still well alive for a while after that. So there were some other rumors too about whether or not he was physically able to do it. Like people have since, taken, because remember, we didn't have speedboats. There were rowboats back then, sailboats and rowboats. Mm-hmm. And so people charted it out and did the math. And, there's some debate about whether or not he physically would have been able to get from point A to point B in enough time. And there are some theories that there were other ships and there were other people sneakily on the island. But I think most people believe it was him and that the motive was money and that he was mistaken.
Well, I mean, we went out clearly on a motorboat ferry, right? And it's not like we were flying or anything, but we were definitely doing. Oh, wait, they told us how many knots were we doing? 13?
I forget.
15?
Yeah, it was like 13, I think.
Yeah, so we were going like 15 miles an hour, but it still took 45 or 50 minutes to get out there.
I thought we were flying. I thought we were going so fast. And I was like, how fast are we going? How fast? And she's like, 13 knots. And I just looked at you guys. And I was like, what does that even mean?
How fast is 13 knots? We were like, well, okay.
All right, thanks.
Good to know. Yeah. So we'll have to Google that.
Google helped us out and told us, it's about 15 miles an hour. And Amelia was like, I could probably walk faster than this.
It felt like we were flying though. I just had so much fun.
Sailing is a wonderful experience.
It is. But we even spoke about that when we were on the boat. Like, can you imagine these people used to do that by like rowboat all the time?
Sailing. Like, it's just crazy.
Well, I mean, people used to churn their own butter.
That is true.
We just go to the market and buy all that stuff now. But
people do a lot of things that they don't do anymore.
And, one of the main things that we do now that was never done is we live past like 35 years old.
That's also very true.
Right.
So, science, technology advancements.
Knock on wood.
Oh, well, those of us who are already past 35.
I was just going to say.
knock on wood.
I mean, I wouldn't know anything about that only being 25, but.
So I found the name of that Spanish ship with the shipwreck, and I actually have an answer for you. So it is the Sagunto. And I have an answer for you as to how these 14 people crashed and ended up all dead along the shore.
They were dragged out by rats.
Ew.
Oh, creepy. No, it's because it was winter.
Oh, yeah. That's
the dead of winter.
Question, Jamie. Totally.
It was like the dead of winter. They all froze.
They froze to death. They got out of the boat and then they died.
They made their way to the beach through a blinding snowstorm, following the promise of safety, the yellow light glowing of a candle in the window of Sam Haley's cottage. But they didn't make it. They did not make it. So they buried them right there on the beach.
Whoa.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, they must have washed away years and years ago then.
Yeah, I would guess. But now, not only does Smutty Nose have those axe murders to think about, but it has these shipwrecks to think about too.
Dang.
There was probably a good reason for that big no sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stay out of here. You don't want anything on here following you home.
No kidding, right? These rocks are slippery and also there's skeletons down there. So
yeah, we don't want to add any more. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. But speaking of boats in that area, did you guys know that there are pirate ship legends among the islands as well?
Ooh, pirate legends was a big theme in season 4. So, we'd love to hear.
Oh, was it? Yeah. I remember a couple of those.
Yeah. Thanks.
So, no, I do. So the funniest legend that I think is funny about the pirate legends on these islands is the fact that it's Blackbeard, because this Blackbeard, like, weren't we discussing this before? Blackbeard seemed to really get around.
Oh, yeah.
He haunts everywhere.
His ship got around when he was alive, and now his ghost really gets around in the afterlife.
Yes.
He's got a lot of buried treasure to protect.
And I think we talked about Blackbeard haunts. You were talking about somewhere in Barnstable. We also talked about he haunts somewhere in South Carolina. And I feel like we talked about him turning up in another place, maybe the Maryland area.
He's all over the place.
Yeah. So the legend has it that he found Smutty Nose, or actually maybe it wasn't Smutty Nose. I forget which island it was, but that he found one of the little islands because it was sort of so remote and people didn't really bother with it, and buried his treasure there, as he always does. I guess he left his wife, or even I heard multiple wives there to guard the treasure, and that they have guarded it through life and through death. And so supposedly it's not really his ghost that haunts it, but it's the wives' ghosts that haunt it and guard the treasure. You know, I think historians will tell you that, and just our own exploration of Star Island can tell you that there's not really much space to bury a treasure. It's all rock.
And I feel like it was
one of those caves that we didn't see.
Maybe. Yeah. Because it's all, I mean, there's nowhere to, you can't even dig. It's all rock.
And I get the feeling anywhere that isn't rock, those people over with the Unitarian Universalists on their retreats, like, do not tell me there haven't been dozens of middle-aged men with the metal detector, like, going out throughout the whole island. Like
that one patch of sand right there, you know,
right.
They hit it real hard.
You know they're doing that. Like, it would have been found.
Well, I mean, hey, look at the Goonies, right? They found an entire ship that was buried in their cliffs.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
That's true. And we did, even on the boat, we did talk about how many ships are probably under that water. You know what I mean? Just the ocean is full of ghosts and mysteries.
The ocean is just one big graveyard.
It really is.
But really fun to just go skimming along the top of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So while we were at the island, Jamie, you tried to tap into your medium side and were able to go on Vaughn Cottage. And I have a very nice photo of you with your hands on the cottage, trying to get an energetic feel off of the stones. And around the Oceanic Hotel, can you tell us a little of what you felt while you were out there?
Sure. So with the Vaughn Cottage, I was really disappointed because I wanted to go inside. I wanted to get my hands on something. And I'm sure you guys have, you know, I know that we've spoken before about psychometry, right? Like putting your hands on something, especially metal. If anyone wants to try it, I find that metal, for me at least, is a really good conductor of energy. But stone too. Stone almost is a little different to me because stone to me almost has like a living quality of its own. It's like such an earthly thing. Mm-hmm. And so since we couldn't get in, I put my hands on the outside of the building and I was hoping just to get some impressions just from that. And, you know, it was cute actually what I was seeing. It was almost like, it wasn't what I would call a ghost, like in my personal opinion of what a ghost is, right? It was more like the imprint of these sort of memories. And what I was seeing, I kept seeing this little old man. It was just sort of like carrying something. I was seeing him go through the walls, but it must have been just because I couldn't get inside, right? It was like carrying, you know, something from one place into the building. And I think it just was like the energy of the caretaker. Like I felt as though the island almost had its own team of like spirit caretakers. Do you know what I mean? It just felt very like protected and loved and well cared for. I didn't feel any of these dark, creepy, murdered, lost souls, lost at sea kind of vibes when we were on Star Island. It was very much just like, look how much we love our land. Look how much we love this place. Look how much we love these memories. And so it was just a very like caretaker vibe. Like, let me take care of these things. And I'm sure they have a living caretaker now. I don't know if this was a man who's passed or if it was just sort of the imprint of it. And then when we were walking around, especially when we were sort of peeking into the hotel, they wouldn't let us in, which was kind of disappointing to me. But when you look in the doors, you could see kind of how grand it was on the inside, but it was so quiet at the time.
Yes.
And as soon as I looked in, I kind of stood in the doorway, I immediately saw this impression and I felt like, now this is major overlook vibes again, but not in a creepy way, and actually a nice way. I felt like the hotel almost wanted to show me what its glory days were like. And so I got this visual, this beautiful kind of imprint of what it was like back then. I saw music and I saw people dancing and I saw children just like running around and chasing each other and laughing. And it was like, this is what it was like in our glory days. And people would come and we were so full of vibrant energy and life. And everyone, it looked a little sort of Victorian to me, almost like Mary Poppins outfits, right? Like everyone was wearing white and had little sun hats on and like
Mhm.
high lacy collars. That was what it looked like to me.
Beautiful.
There was a very positive energy on the island as a whole. There was none of that doomsday sort of dread feeling that we run into sometimes when there are spirits around. Everything there was just, it was happy, it was light. There was just a lot of love in the air around that whole island.
Yeah, that's the impression I got too. And I think whatever ghosts haunt Star Island and the Oceanic Hotel are there out of love.
Agreed.
I don't know about Smutty Nose.
That'll be
We
our
haven't
next-
been there
our next
ourselves, but it's
getaway.
a little dark.
We
Smutty Nose
might,
might be a little dark.
we might have to charter a different boat, not just the regular ferry for that one.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. And thank you, Jamie, so much for coming with us. That was so much fun. And for chatting with us about this.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime. I had a good time. Any day we can go out a boat in the sunshine and have an excuse to call it work is fine with me.
Yeah, it was just so nice and so much fun and just a good girls' day.
It was. It was.
When you go, our listeners, when you come back, you're in Rye, New Hampshire, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And we just had a great lunch and it was wonderful.
I don't know if you want us to maybe we're not supposed to be plugging restaurants or whatever, but the restaurant we went to, we went to Friendly Toast.
Friendly Toast.
Which is since I was a teenager, like my friends and I used to go up there just to go to the Friendly Toast. It's one of my all-time favorite places. The food is so good.
Oh, that's very cool. All good stuff. So, do we have anything else we'd like to say about our excursion? Final thoughts?
I had a really good time.
I did too, and I would definitely go back.
I also had a good time. It was a nice area. It was very pleasant. Thank you, Jamie, so much. Jamie, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they find you?
I'm probably most active on Instagram. That's a really good place to get in touch with me. My Instagram is Medium Jamie Day, Jamie. But my website is the same. My Facebook is the same. And I go by that name pretty much everywhere. So you can find me anywhere you need to find me by Medium Jamie Day.
The infamous Medium Jamie Day.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot already. See, I can't change my name. I have to keep it the same because my memory's bad.
And so I saw something you were doing. And people might be interested in this. What is the pay what you can program that you have?
Not everybody can afford a mediumship reading. Sometimes people really need them. And so I've started an occasional, it's not going to be all the time, but I'm opening up. I'm hoping to be able to do it once a month where I can offer a day where people can get mediumship readings. They're just phone readings where we chat for like a half an hour, help connect you to your past loved ones over the phone, and you can just pay whatever you can. And I'm not going to tell you how much to pay. You decide. I like people to do, I said it's nice even if you just put a few dollars in, because I feel like a good faith investment, and it puts your heart into it and like a commitment to it, right? Because sometimes when we get things for free, we don't have the same heart attachment to it that we do when we put what we can into something. So it's like an energetic component, but pay what you can. And I want to help you to connect with your past loved ones if that's something that you need. So look for those posts on my Instagram.
Well, I think that's beautiful. And, Dr. Usui, who founded Usui Reiki over in Japan, that was a big thing he said, is that you can't give Reiki for free because of that very reason. So even like, if you're, poor, you have something, you just give what you can, but it always has to be something because for the same reason. Otherwise it's just sucking out the energy and you not putting anything in with it. It needs to be kind of this like symbiotic relationship. So yeah, cool.
Yeah. And we've got some, there's some fun workshops and things like that coming up, and who knows when this will air. So you can just check out, I have the little link in my bio, that'll tell you like whatever I have going on currently. So you can stay up to date and check that out. I teach classes, I give readings, I do all kinds of fun stuff. So if you're into it, come say hello to me. We can get connected.
That sounds like a great idea.
It does. It sounds really nice.
Well, thanks again so much for having me. Again, I love being on ghost hunting in New England. Anytime you guys need me, you just let me know. You know where to find me.
We will.
This is great. We're so happy to have you.
Yes. Okay. And if you want to get in touch with ghost hunting in New England, you can find us online. This week, if we were doing normal episodes and having kind of normal times, this would be the time everyone would say happy birthday to me, but that's okay. So
Happy birthday, Amelia.
thank you.
Happy
so much.
birthday, Amelia.
Thank you, my
Happy
friend.
Leo season.
Yay. Meow.
Should we sing?
No, that's okay. I just,
Happy birthday to Amelia.
Cool. So yeah, you can find us online, ghosthuntinginnewengland.com, on Instagram at Ghost Hunting in New England, on Twitter, Ghost Hunting NE. Please follow us on Twitter. On Facebook, Ghost Hunting.
Facebook.com.
What am I doing? Yeah.
Ghost Hunting in New England.
Excuse me. Sorry. And be
Thanks,
sure to
Beth.
send us your drive-by ghostings at ghosthuntinginnewengland@gmail.com. This season, we have a handful of episodes we recorded in the past, back in June and July. So if you sent us one this past week in the future and you're like, why aren't they reading it right now? It's because we're not there. We're back here. Anything else?
When you're in a restaurant, if you eat all your food, you can't complain you didn't like it or send it back or ask for a refund. And you especially can't call an hour later or the next day and be like, my quinoa was musty.
My quinoa tasted musty. And you know what else? If you're in a restaurant and you know that the owner is like on their honeymoon or something, don't Instagram them after you've left and after you finished all your food being like, my kid didn't have enough avocado on their toast. Just go up to the register and tell them, geez, Louise.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
What does musty taste
I don't know. I think my quinoa tastes bomb.com. So I'm not sure.
I believe you.
I've had the quinoa there lots of times and it's delicious.
Really good.
So I've
Maybe
never-
you
Yeah.
don't like quinoa and that's not
Musty.
my problem.
Right. And musty's not a flavor. So it just really
But
kind of
musty's
threw me
definitely a
off.
taste, and when you taste musty, you know you tasted.
I
musty.
guess.
Yeah, it tastes almost like a little bit dirty.
Well, I had quinoa that day too, and I can tell you it didn't taste musty to me. So anyway, I guess that's all we have this week.
Nothing else to
Yay.
complain about.
No, that's it. Oh, I mean, I have so much more, but that's
And
all I'm going to
And
say.
if you would like to get into the restaurant business, there's a website out there that people actually advertise their restaurants for sale on. Amelia, do you know the name of that website?
Well, a very famous one is bizbuysell.com, but hopefully that will no longer be relevant by the time this episode comes out.
Bizbuysell.com. Go out and buy yourself a restaurant.
And as always,
Happy hunting.